Yeah, so not a ton different, to tell you the truth, from kind of some of my comments after the game and some of my first impressions. Um, I thought our defense competed really, really well, competed very hard, missed too many tackles. That would be the one critique that we have. I think it's always going to be an issue in college football with all these spread offenses. And the other thing that probably hurt our guys a little bit is they faced a lot of plays, I think about 92 plays, and that hurts. On offense, it was real disappointing. I think we all thought we would perform better than we did, and for whatever reason, we didn't. You turned the ball over 5 times. I've never been on a team that's won when we turned it over 5 times, so that's an issue. But also same kind of thing, just not getting into a rhythm early enough to stay on the field to convert third downs. We ran the ball fairly effective, but we got behind, and so then we had to throw it a little bit more than we wanted to. And in some ways it was kind of you look at it and you're saying, how does this happen? We're fumbling the ball, we're getting a drive going, we get a guy moving when we think Dwayne would have hit a huge run. Just a lot of things like that comes with some inexperience and comes with we got to coach them better. So
there's a number of times when there was pressure, not just the sacks, but pressure. When Jake appeared to see the pressure, and yet on several occasions it looked like the pressure was coming from more than one direction. So he found himself maybe without an escape path like we saw in earlier games.
I don't totally agree with that. I think he had pressure. I don't think it was more than one direction. It wasn't like it was an avalanche and we weren't, there may have been one like that. But I think some of it is he's got to get rid of the ball. And I think a lot of it is we need to protect better. I do think that. And I think it's a hard dilemma for any quarterback. If he's not feeling great about the protection and he's being pressured a couple times, okay, I feel a little bit of pressure, and then I got to trust it's going to get picked up. That's a very fine line of, a fine dilemma to, like, do I hang, do I get out of here? And so we got to get better at that whole thing. We got to protect him better, and then he's got to maybe learn to trust it a little bit and get the ball out on time and those type of things. And so, it's not any one thing. It's all of us, and it's all of our inexperience kind of showing up at one time.
He got a pretty good shot on that first sack, Chris. He hasn't been hit real hard through the first few games.
Yeah.
Do you think that impacted him at all?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know that. I'd have to ask that. And so, that's discouraging to come right out of the gate and have something like that happen. But I will tell you this. Their quarterback got hit a whole heck of a lot, and he hung in there and threw some pretty nice balls. We don't want our guy getting hit. We don't, but that's that fine line between setting your feet and getting rid of it, not taking a sack, reloading to fight another down at 2nd and 10, those type of things. And so it's work in progress, and it's a young quarterback that's doing some really good things, but we can do some things to help the whole situation.
When he does scramble out, is he finding that maybe backwards isn't the best place to go to try to outrun some of those guys? Took some big losses because of that, it seemed like.
Yeah, that never is. Yeah.
Talked about this last year too, but for Jake with the pocket presence, awareness, he seems to have a pretty good feel for that, but still sort of piggybacking on that idea. How do you reinforce that thought, I guess, stepping up, versus stepping to the side or whatever the thought process is?
And so that'll come in practice. The problem is he's gotten out of probably a lot more than he hasn't. But then when he doesn't, now we're 1st or 2nd and 20, those type of things. The one we ran it naked, the end played it good, you got to throw the ball away. It's that simple. It's that simple, me sitting here. He can juke that guy, which he's done a little bit, and then make something happen. But those are the things that are split-second decisions that we just got to learn to fight another down and keep us in manageable. As soon as we go 1st and 20 because we get an offensive pass interference on a hitch play, that's a problem. Then we go 2nd and 20 because we take a sack on a naked. Those are big problems. You can't really, it's too hard to dig yourself out.
He seemed awfully critical of himself after the game for some of the
Yeah.
mistakes. You know, when someone like that is their harshest critic, what do you have to do as a staff to kind of keep him going?
And so, you know, that's why I don't want to sit up here and nitpick this to death. I mean, the guy's does some really good things, as we all know, and he's going to continue to get better. And I have so much respect for that guy, how hard he works, the feel that he has for the game. And so, you know, we're kind of discussing the game, and it kind of comes back to some things there. But that's what I love about Jake. I mean, he's the first one to go, what could I do better? You know, and that's how I think it needs to be in our entire program, starting with our coaches. You know, what can I do better to help him and help the situation? And so that's why Jake's a fun guy to coach, because he's not going to ever point fingers. And I think he's just very honest about the whole situation. If a route wasn't broke on time, he's going to say, well, why isn't that route there? But he's going to first and foremost look at himself and know. And, you know, I think he's got a good blend of analyzing the situation and how it needs to be. And, you know, it's the margin for, like we said, the margin for error in this college football is, you know, they're split seconds. It's so fast, and it's just different than he's used to. And that's just going to take a minute to get up to speed, that we got to play, you know, that fast and make those decisions at all times. And he will.
I know you've said in the past that you feel like he's a guy that's not going to make the same mistake twice, and he's going to really learn from these. Is that showing up on tape? Is that proving to be true?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm not going to say anybody doesn't make the same mistake twice, because certain things can happen. I don't know if there's one that showed up again where it's like, I mean, if he gets burned on something that's, you know, truly his, I don't think that's going to happen again. But there's little nuances, you know, between protections that will change, that might he be responsible for, the O-line might be responsible for, the different looks that come at us. You know, there's a lot of little things, and now we've added some new formations or a new play or something, and it's like, oh yeah, we're changing this route on that. And that's where we just got to be careful, because of not only him, but all the new guys we have.
Talk about just what you've been talking about, but from the perspective of the offensive line, young guys.
Yeah.
Did Cal throw things at him that was a little surprising, or?
Not really. I mean, I think that was the thing that was a little bit disappointing. You know, I think Cal, you know, kind of gave us what we, for the most part, suspected. I think there was, you know, we made some errors that we hadn't made, assignment errors on the previous couple games, that all of a sudden it's like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah. You know, those type of things.
The toughest thing to teach an offensive lineman at this level when they're coming in as freshmen?
Well, I would probably say the toughest thing is all their assignments. You know, when you're talking about a freshman that, you know, redshirt or not, that is really getting this for the first time, because there's just a lot of assignments, you know, from protection to the run block. I mean, there's just a lot of them. And then as soon as you change the front, or you put a blitz and add a blitz into that, and then you put a line stunt into that, you know, the assignment continually change. So that's probably the first and foremost, is if they can know their assignment, you know, 100% crystal clear. And then I think the second thing is you know, some of these guys have been playing for a while that they're going against, you know, so now you got the physicalness of the position that not only got to know it, because if they're thinking it all and those things get on them so fast, it's really hard. And then the third thing is to get them fundamentally and technically sound. I mean, some of that shows up. It's like he's doing the right thing, he knows what he's doing, but our hand placement is completely wrong, you know, and you know, how we're going to use our hands and those type of things.
Seeing this more or less with all, especially the young guys that are in the line now.
Yeah, and you know, again, I think it's all of us. You know, it's at every position. I mean, we can go on to our receivers, you know, to the tight ends at the line of scrimmage, and it's like, yeah, these 9 guys are good, but this guy right here. And you know, it's all fun and games to talk about all these young guys, and we're playing all these young guys, and they're critical, and look how this is going to be in the future, and all. The future's now. You know, that's the painful thing about this, is we got to get this right, you know, now. But being realistic, when you play that many young guys, you're going to have some tough growing pains with this, and that's what makes it hard, I think. They care. They're trying to get it right. I mean, it's just like, oh, man, you can just see the look on their face, and you can see how hard they're working during the week, but it is going to take a little bit of time.
Because of that, do you approach the bye week as sort of a camp, get back to basics?
You know, I think we do that every bye week. You know, I mean, there are certain guys that you know, you try to get healed up, but in general, you're trying to get better for sure. You're trying to first and foremost make yourself better, and you know, maybe you get a little bit more of a look at your opponent. So it's really, we don't feel like this time like, oh, okay, let's catch our breath. This feels, I mean, we understand. I mean, we're just under pressure with the clock. You know, we only have so much time with these kids, and so how do we get them refreshed here after a really hard 2 months of fall camp and these first games? And then, so letting them refresh there, but also with all the work that we got to do to get better.
You talked about how the offense didn't get in a rhythm in that game. It was very disjointed anyway, with all the long reviews and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you have any solutions to speed up that process that might help the flow of the game?
I mean, you know, it's easy for me to sit up here and have all these answers, but I've kind of felt like that for the last couple of years, that, you know, the TV, I mean, there's no way around this TV. I mean, they pay the bills, but it's really frustrating with all the TV timeouts. Then you come with some of these reviews, you know. I think we review too many things. Every play is reviewed. Now, how about this? The one time they don't review because they go fast, I have to call a timeout, then they review it and change it. I mean, it was just frustrating in so many different ways, you know, from our play to how the game kind of went. I don't know.
An explanation on some of the short kickoffs where the fair catch was ruled and it didn't look like called.
So we're trying to get the official rule, but what they had told us was, you know, we had a guy, you know, stick his hand in the air. Well, that's our signal for a sky kick. Ball's going up. It's nowhere near the guy where it is, and so that's if they were. I mean, it was first time that's ever come up in our how many years of doing this, but if that's what it is, then we have to change our mechanics.
The last review, Littleton had the sack, 3 minutes left on Goff. Did you ask for an explanation? Did you ever get an explanation?
Yeah, I didn't. I was figured they were reviewing for the fumble, and came back no fumble. Yeah.
The right guard, I think it was the right guard for Cal in offense, seemed to tap the center.
Yeah.
Is that something they do all the time?
Yeah.
Is it weird, unusual? I haven't seen it.
No, a lot of teams will use that a little bit. That's, you know, why they do it is the center usually has a lot of calls to make. So when the center's looking through, things can change. So they let a center make all the calls, and the guard's the guy that makes sure, okay, the quarterback's ready, tap, we're ready to play. We've used that. A lot of times use that, a lot of teams.
Did you walk away with any positives?
Say again?
Did you walk away with any positives?
I thought our defense, like I said, played really, really well. I thought they played hard. You know, I think all of our guys play hard. But I think how our defense played, having to face that many plays against that really good offense, you know, I thought they really played well enough for us to win. And so I thought that was real positive. I thought on special teams, I thought we were, you know, I thought we were good. We were fine on special teams. We're always trying to get an advantage. I don't know if we really did. I thought those guys moved the ball around on their kickoff team. I mean, they gave us everything from deep kick to short kick to sky kick to squib kick to in between pooch and line drive kick. And those are really tough to handle. I mean, you really have to spend time on them. And I thought our guys really handled that flawless. I thought they did a good job there because there was more to it than maybe just meets the eye from sitting in the stands. So I thought those were positives with those guys.
Missed tackling during the week as you're preparing to have all these games around. Is that something that's hard to practice? And now you have a bye week. Is that something you can correct?
Well, we will always work on tackling. Even if it doesn't look like it's showing up there, I promise you, we will work on that morning, noon, and night, somehow, some way. Can you scrim? The best way to work on tackling is to practice it live. Can we do a lot of that? No. But I do think we can improve skill from a lot of these different drills that we can do that will carry over. And it's got to come from major emphasis every single day, and we'll continue to do that.
During the bye week, the coaches like to get back and work with a lot of the young guys that maybe they haven't been able to focus on earlier. But with so many young guys already playing, how do you recalibrate that at all, or do you alter it in any?
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, we're working with them anyway, so it's practice as usual. I mean, trust me, we're going back right now looking at everything we've done the first 4 games. It starts with us, okay? How do we coach them better? what are we missing here that's not clean enough? Are we missing something? So we're in the process of doing that. And so even the young guys that we do have that are maybe redshirting, not playing a lot, we still are able to work. We work with those guys, get a little bit of extra time on Sundays. That's a practice day for us, so we do some things there. But for the most part, I mean, during the week of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there are so many young guys. That's what we're doing anyways. But we try to make sure that we're working with all guys, even guys that are working the scout guys, at least once a week, pretty good.
Do you also change the mechanics of this particular bye week because the following week is so short?
So we'll have. Well, it's not going to be short to us. We just readjust our days. Okay, so we're still going to have a normal work week. It just starts like on Saturday or Sunday, I believe. And so we'll get a couple extra practices here. And so there might be a little more fundamental work for everybody that those guys will all be involved with. There might be a period or two with just all the young guys like we do on young guys that aren't playing on Sunday. But for the most part, we got to get the guys that are playing better.
What is that Sunday practice like? What do you like?
It's a fundamental. It's a correct and review from the game. That's what we like about it, is we watch it on. We can't show this stuff on tape and think they've now made the correction. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, that just shows them. That just explains what it was. It's got to be done on the field. And so we do take it to the field, and we go through that again. It usually starts in an individual period, that mistake, and then we'll take it to a group period and try to correct it there. So we try to do everything we can do so we don't repeat it again. And so that's what Sunday is. It's fundamental. It's correct and review. It's work with the guys that aren't playing a whole lot. It's not a super long practice, but we certainly don't want to waste a day, or why would we even go out there?
You talk about struggling to get into an offensive rhythm,
Yeah.
and we've seen it a couple times this season.
Yep.
Besides dissecting individual plays, what worked, didn't work, what do you as a staff, or how do you look at it more broadly on what we need to do to build momentum and get the offense kind of rolling?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really hard, difficult question. And, that's what we discuss every time. What are the best plays to give us a little success? What are they most comfortable with? And so that's what we're always doing. And it's, it is disappointing, I think, to everybody. I mean, we're trying to put our best stuff out there. We think it's got a pretty good chance, and then it seems to not go. And then we kind of get into a rhythm and those type of things. We try to start practice pretty fast with some certain type of drills. And, I mean, everything that you guys are probably thinking, we're thinking the same thing, and we're addressing it and trying to figure this out as we go.
Relatively pleased with how the offense has played when it goes up tempo, it goes fast. I know you got the touchdown drive with Dwayne. Those were pretty good.
Oh, have I been? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it has been. There's been some stuff that hasn't been good. We've tried to reload quick, and so again, I think it's a balance. I think it comes down to execution. I mean, I think defenses are pretty good about getting lined up quickly. I mean, they see that the majority of the time. What they don't see is someone going super slow. And so I think it's all about, mixing and matching some of those type of things. But, for us, it just comes down to execution. What gives our guys the best chance to execute?
When you took the job here, Chris, did you have a conversation with Sark about the people, place?
About people what?
People, the place, the players, or is that not part of the transition protocol?
I talked to some people. I didn't talk to Coach Sark about that, but I talked to some other people certainly that I knew and those type of things. Yeah.
Have you had much dialogue with him?
I've talked to him a couple different times on some of the coaches' functions, not necessarily about what's the detail of going on here or anything like that. Yeah.
Did you get any impression of who he was as a coach just from being around his former players, his former program, and maybe knowing a little bit how they did things here before?
I know he's a good football coach. I know that. I mean, I think he's been with some very good people. I think he did some, like I told you before, I have a lot of respect for where he got this program and where he got it to. And everybody's got their different way of doing things. And so my hat's off to those guys, and not just Coach Sark. You know, I mean, I think so often it always comes back to the head coach. You guys are talking to me like, you know, and I think about this when it goes good, like I got all the answers. I mean, the staffs are so important, and he's got a good football staff with him, and you know, I think I got a good football staff that's been with me for a while. And so, you know, I've known that, and like I said, I mean, I think that they've done everywhere he's gone, he's done a pretty good job, and I think you saw a pretty good job on Saturday by how those guys played.
Any early thoughts on USC?
You know, we haven't studied them yet, but I know who they've recruited, and I know a couple of those guys that are coming back too, and yeah, they got some guys. I know that.
You said from the start of the season you can't really judge this team by wins and losses. Through your eyes, through 4 weeks, do you feel like they're making the progress you expected them to at this point?
Well, I will tell you this. I think our defense has done a pretty good job up to this point. I think those guys have really played at a good level. I do. I think on offense, it's been 2 steps forward, maybe a step backwards, which is probably realistic for the situation. I don't think we're ever going to be good with that. I know we aren't. We're just going to keep pushing and just try to stay as positive as we can with it. You know, I mean, we really like the kids. I mean, you know, when guys are in and really trying to do this the right way, and it is. And so I know we'll improve. I do know that. I think our schedule continually gets harder as we go, and so we have to improve to give us a fighting chance.
Bye week. With the bye week and with the schedule ahead, I mean, is this a chance for your staff at all to maybe gather up more film or look ahead a little bit more?
You talking beyond USC? Probably not beyond. I mean, I still think it's about us. It's about our next opponent. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we go back and look at the 4 games. I mean, it's about us getting this right and executing with more detail. And I mean, that's what it is.
Well into your second year here, looking back, how difficult the transition, you talked about that a lot last year. You feel pretty good in general that the buy-in and some of the cultural things that you're kind of where you wanted to be by this point?
I do. You know, I think if we had a little more experience, you know, like I said, if the senior class wouldn't have been so big and lost so many of those guys, I think it'd be a little bit different as well. You know, like I said, you know, I think talent is experience plus ability, and I think we have some pretty good ability. I really do. I mean, I think from the guys that have been here a little while to the new guys, there's some really good ability here. But to get that true talent, the way I kind of see it, it comes with experience. There's no substitute for that. It just shows up, and so we'll get there. It can be really, really hard. And so, you know, I think that's as you build a program, and it is cyclical. Sometimes you have those big classes, and sometimes you have the small classes. And sometimes when you have a small class, you're kind of liking that, but that can get you down the road. You know, you like to have the balanced across the board in all your classes. So when you lose guys, you know, the next guys, you know, they've been here for a while. They get it, you know. We need more of those guys that, you know, Tanis and you know, Sifas and those guys that you maybe not have heard a lot, that all of a sudden now they're seniors and, you know, they're pretty experienced, even though just because they've been here and they've been around. And I think those type of guys are like really important.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you, guys.